Hello, this will be a very relaxed, intimate chat style video, which is not what I normally do. However, so many of you have been asking me to tell you more about what's happening with my pregnancy. I haven't really shared much other than telling you that I'm pregnant. So I thought I would just do a little recap on the first and the second trimester, because I'm now in the third trimester, and I realize that many of you have already got families, or you already have friends or family members close to you that have been through pregnancies. So all of you watching probably have far more experience than I do. I'm a first-time mother, and I guess this isn't really an advice style video. I'm not advocating that you follow anything that I've done. I'm just doing what's unique to me. I suppose this video is more just about sharing, and I know that when I was really nauseous and fatigued during these months, I found great comfort in watching videos like this, even if they had certain symptoms that didn't pertain to me, or they were just on their fourth child. I just found it very calming to watch other women share their stories. We'll begin with fertility. I think that it is quite a serious subject because so many people these days struggle with fertility. I think everybody knows someone who has had to go through a lot of pain and a lot of, time basically just waiting to fall pregnant. And I'm very, very grateful that that wasn't our situation. However, I was quite conscious. I know as I've said before, I always wanted children, but I really wanted to be sure that I wanted to be married, and I wanted it to be, and I waited a long time to be married because I really wanted it to be with the right person. And if you're just joining us and you have no idea who is this girl, what is she all about? So I live in Italy, and I'm married to an Italian, and we were married last year. I suppose a bit older than most first-time mothers, but I guess I've always tried to follow quite a healthy lifestyle and diet, just for me. But also, I suppose in the back of my head was also always this thought of fertility. And I remember when I was sort of 18, 19 and speaking with girlfriends about, should we talk about sex? Can we? Yes, I guess. Why not? I mean, I think it's an important issue, but about unprotected sex. And I think it's so important. It's something I really believe should be taken more seriously, and it's not by men and women. Not everyone, but in many countries, because I've lived in quite a few countries, there's this very laid-back attitude to casual sex and hookups, and that's never been something that I've felt comfortable with. And some people have sort of said, oh, it's just about falling pregnant or getting AIDS, or some of these big consequences. And I would say to my girlfriends, no, I mean, having protected sex, or even waiting, if that's your choice, is because if you get even just chlamydia, they say, you can take something for that, but no, that can affect your fertility. And maybe you might find I'm a bit paranoid. Perhaps I am, but I'd rather be a little bit more paranoid, because I always just thought to myself, even when I was that young at 18, thinking, no, I can't. It's nothing. There's no one night stand that's worth compromising my fertility for. So yeah, I think I was always very conservative in that regard. I had a little bit of trepidation, thinking, okay, I've left it rather late, but hopefully we can fall pregnant. And a lot of people track their ovulation and really track down to the days. And I think Well, I don't know. I mean, sometimes these things aren't always accurate. Perhaps they are for me, I suppose, because I keep such strange hours. I mean, I have to say it's not healthy with my work, because I sometimes I will be working, many times I'll be working so late. And last year, for example, I skipped a night of sleep every week in order to put out these videos. And that's something that I tried to stop doing this year since I got pregnant, because I understand how bad it is and how valuable sleep is. But it's just me alone managing my business, my work, and filming and editing and producing, and then also doing the work, particularly with renovations, doing the work that will facilitate being able to film renovations. So it was just a lot. And I think for that reason, if this year you have written to me and haven't received a response, if you are a patron and you're hoping to get a letter, this year I had to cut down considerably in order to keep putting out 30-minute episodes that were just jam-packed with not just renovations and a recipe and drone shots and cinematic shots and interviews and miking things and color grading and making sure there's a beautiful soundtrack. And it's a lot of work to repeat every 7 days. So I just had to not, and I still read all your comments on every video, which are often, there's like 500 or even 1,000 comments per video. So I had to cut down on that, and my mother and my husband just both said to me, no, your patrons will understand, it's just you can't do everything. And I think for a lot of people, you probably understand that struggle, because you feel bad and you feel guilty that you're not doing enough. But it's really sleep and exhaustion with fertility, but then also with the actual pregnancy is just so dangerous. So yes, you can't always know how your body works. It's just mysterious. And if you're doing all those little ovulation tests and following your month, I would say perhaps just make love in general as much as possible, because you never know how your body is. And in fact, when I fell pregnant, the doctor said, oh no, that couldn't be because it's not the right time, but evidently it was. So I think it's important to just not chart, and some people taking your temperature and watching all the days and everything, but then also just saying, hey, there's also the chance that you might fall pregnant outside of that little 2-day window. When I was trying to get my body into just peak health, the main thing you have to think about is your hormonal health. And I think for a lot of us, we just accept that, oh, that's just how I am, or I just get tired or at this time of month, or I just, that's just part of being a woman or whatever, or you just can't lose weight because that's your genetics. And I think a lot of the time, these issues can be traced back to hormonal imbalance. And so I read these 2 books by Elisa Vitti, Woman Code and In the Flow. I don't really like the titles, but and some of the book was a bit, let's say, not patronizing, but it was sort of very simplistic. It's a very friendly style, but I was sort of like, just get to the facts. I wanted the science of it, but they're very well written. Obviously, that's why I read both of them, because they've got some interesting case studies. If you're like me, I love reading the different case studies and seeing, okay, this woman had these issues, and then she adjusted these things to her diet and her lifestyle and had this result. And it's super interesting because you may not even realize that you have a hormonal imbalance, but most women do. And it's interesting, not just because these books are not just for pregnancy, but they're also for menopause. They're also just for just at any stage in a woman's life. She said, Might have to do this in voiceover because I don't know if I remember it correctly, but
drinking coffee increases the risk of miscarriage by 74%. Caffeine is associated with suppressed fertility. Even for men, it lowers their chances of success with IVF, and it disrupts ovulation, increasing cortisol levels, kind of making your body believe you're under stress.
if you followed me for a while, you know I live in Italy. I love coffee. I take it super strong and black, no sugar, no milk, no almond milk, all this frothy stuff. No, I want it pure and intense. And the coffee is very strong in Italy. And I've been drinking it for years. And when I read that, I just thought, oh gosh, instantly I just cut it out. I do give myself, generally, I was always giving myself a break from coffee over usually a few months of the year, just to get things back to regulate things and get things back to normal, so I wasn't becoming desensitized to caffeine. I started doing that just for my sleep patterns. I started it. I stopped coffee cold turkey in the end of September. So it's been about 10 months now that I've been completely off coffee, and that's a big thing for me because I make my husband cafe every morning, and even when I'm just filling up the cafetiera, oh my gosh, I smell the coffee and it's just so intoxicating. I love it. I love the ritual. I love the taste. I actually find it super useful, especially when I'm the type of person who's working till 4 in the morning, and I get up in the morning and it's a great salvation to start your day. However, when I read this stat, and I thought, even if they're exaggerating, or even if the clinical trials, maybe that was the case, but they weren't able to replicate it, I don't care, because 70%, that's a lot. And I just thought, if there's any chance that coffee could contribute to sorry, I'm thinking miscarriage. In Italian, it's aborto spontaneo, which means spontaneous abortion, which is a bit strange because you think of abortion as something you choose to do. But anyway, miscarriage. If you think of that there's anything that could contribute to a miscarriage, I thought, that's it. I'm just cutting it out. It's not a big sacrifice to make for a year of my life. So this Elisa Vitti, she says that really taking out coffee is also just good to regulate your sleep and your stress levels, because what coffee does is it's linked to our adrenal glands, and it gets your body thinking that you're under stress. That's why it sort of wakes you up, and it sort of makes you feel like you're in a state of panic, really, but it's an artificial experience. It's waking you up, but it's not. It's like sleeping pills, or also in another book I'm reading, Why We Sleep, is sleeping pills don't give you proper sleep, or if you fall asleep after alcohol, that's not giving you real sleep. And so coffee is not giving you real waking life. It's artificial, and so she said it's messing with your adrenal glands, and your adrenal glands are linked to stress and anxiety, which is what is linked to your fertility, right? You're not going to fall pregnant unless your body feels that it's a safe, calm environment, and coffee disrupts that feeling in your body. So out with coffee. And I'm all or nothing. I'm the same way with sugar. I have such a sweet tooth. I know that moderation works for some people. My mother is excellent at this. She says, "Why don't just have one little square of chocolate as opposed to having a whole line of chocolate or a whole bar of chocolate?" But I can't do that. I'm all or nothing. If I quit something, it has to be cold turkey. And yeah, a lot of people have said that they try and it's difficult. Yeah, you do get headaches if you were having coffee every day, as I was. I would only have coffee in the morning, but it was super strong, and so you just have to get through it. You go through all the withdrawal symptoms, and you feel exhausted, and then you get migraines or headaches or something, And then the second week you feel you feel like you're not going to be able to do everything you were doing before. But then that passes, and suddenly you're waking up and you're just naturally, just blissfully segueing from sleep to being awake, and you don't need anything to get you there, and that is beautiful. I really just wanted to give myself as much deep, healthy, natural sleep as possible. Let's just go through these, because the thing is, when you first get pregnant, or even if you're younger and you're thinking one day you might get pregnant, and you hear about all these things and you think, gosh, you see that in the movies, you speak with friends and you think that's going to happen to everyone. And perhaps I still could develop a lot of these symptoms during this third trimester. However, it's good to know that it doesn't happen to everyone. So cravings and food aversions. I mean, I had a lot of morning sickness, as I've said before. However, I didn't have one particular food that I couldn't eat. I was still just able to eat salads. I was still able to eat hot things, spicy things, all kinds of things. I didn't have any particular food which turned me off. When I was feeling nauseous and needed to vomit, I was not one trigger, I suppose, that was the trigger of my nausea. I just woke up feeling nauseous. Cravings I didn't have either. I didn't send Guido on any mad chase for something. Just as in general, I've always been someone who has very strong cravings just in life, so nothing changed with pregnancy. I guess I've always been someone who, if I read a certain line in a book about food, or if I see something in a film, I get very excited about instantly making that dish. It doesn't even matter if it's 2 in the morning. I will get up and I will make a 3-tier chocolate cake if I just read about it or see it in a film. So I'm very I'm very prone to persuasion in that regard, but certainly wasn't something that happened during pregnancy. Constipation, it sounds a little bit gross, but it does happen to so many women. I've read these pregnancy forums, and it seems like it's a real issue, and I haven't had any problems, but I wonder whether the walking that I do and the exercise really helps a lot, and also the amount of water that I drink, and all the vegetables that I've been eating as well. I drink a lot of water. I drink between 5 and 6 liters per day. And does that sound? I think it's a lot, even for pregnancy. In pregnancy, they say that you should drink a lot, but I've always drunk a lot of water. I think also because even before pregnancy, I've never been someone who drinks alcohol, and that means water has always been my friend. I love it, and I need it. Hemorrhoids, which I haven't had anything, but it could still happen in the third trimester. Apparently, mood swings and crying. This was a shock to me, because I just thought I'm an emotional person. I get very easily moved by joy, by anything. I mean, I don't know, even just music can just move me very easily to tears. And yet I haven't had anything like that. I just have felt very calm and stable, and no mood swings. I haven't felt, you can feel sometimes, I think, when you're unnecessarily or just irrationally, I suppose is a better word, irrationally frustrated by someone, or angry at the world, or upset, or you're sobbing and you say, I don't even know why I'm crying. I haven't had any of that, and I don't know why. I don't know why. I can't explain it. And it's sort of the stereotype of the pregnant woman who has like these really elevated emotions, and I haven't felt that. I've just felt like myself. I mean, I'll cry if it's a really, really sad movie, but yeah, nothing excessive. Anxiety, that's another thing I haven't really had, which I'm very grateful for. I think I'm reading a lot of these forums, and so many women are saying they're feeling anxious about the which seemed normal, about the baby and what's going to happen, and whether they're going to be a good mother, and all of this these thoughts. But maybe it's because I'm a bit older. I don't know whether that helps. I really feel ready, and I don't think it's going to be easy, but I just feel excited. I can't help it. I know also, I've felt, maybe it's the reason I didn't even make this video, because I just thought, you just don't know if you'll, even in the second trimester, whether you'll make it through and carry full term. But I suppose I just thought, I was sort of philosophical about it, and I just sort of, I don't know, I can't explain it. What I'm trying to say is, I'm not saying that I'm superior because I didn't have anxiety. It's just a strange thing. Anxiety often is just this chemical imbalance, and it's not your fault. It's not because you're doing anything right or wrong. It's just, it happens to you. So yeah, I guess in general, I haven't felt fearful about any aspect of the pregnancy or of what's to come, becoming a mother. Back pain I haven't had. Again, I think the exercise helps. I really do. I think keeping healthy helps, and that's the doctor has just said, yeah, you're in great shape, and therefore you probably won't have, she said, any back pain. Although I suppose once I get to the point where you've really got that big weight in front of you, and you see some women and it's just a struggle for them to even walk or stand up right, and I think that will happen probably very soon, in the next weeks or so, because it's not about how much weight you're carrying or anything. I've seen I've got a friend who's like, she's so skinny, and but she just is really at that stage where she's popped out, and it looks like it's hard for her to even not topple over. So probably when I get to that stage, there'll be some back pain, but I think for that reason I've just been exercising to keep all my joints really supple. Heartburn I haven't had either, which sounds like something that can be quite painful. Headaches I haven't had. Swollen ankles or feet, in spite of the fact that we've had about a month of 40-degree heat. Actually, I almost wasn't going to film this today because it's so incredibly hot. Forgive the sound of the fan, because I have to have this fan on to me. I'll try to clean it a bit with the audio when I do the editing, but it's like you're living inside an oven. Inside the house, it's about 34 degrees inside. Bleeding gums also, haven't had that. Nosebleeds, haven't had that. The symptom or side effect that I was hoping to have, hair growth and nail growth. I've always had pretty strong, healthy nails. They grow very, very fast, but I didn't see anything unusual about, I was thinking, yes, I'm going to have this lustrous, long hair that will just grow in pregnancy. It's just been normal, so that's a shame, but maybe, hopefully, I won't have the hair loss on the other end. When they say after you give birth, you lose a lot of hair, so maybe that's still to come. Symptoms, I did experience shortness of breath. Oh my goodness. People were complaining about it in my videos. You're so short. You sound like terrible, and I couldn't even watch this episode, and blah, blah, blah. And this is when I hadn't told everyone I was pregnant. And even on conference calls, I was just finding I was trying to just articulate myself, and it was so difficult. I did notice it got a lot better. It was really bad in the first trimester and the first half of the second trimester, and then it just got better and better. And now I don't know, because it's so hot, I'm out of breath because of the heat, but I notice that I'm able to get to the end of a sentence without gasping, which is the state I was in the beginning. Overheating, yeah, I've always struggled with overheating. I'm very warm-blooded. A lot of the time, well, not a lot of the time, sometimes some people say if I'm going for a run, and why are you so scantily clad, just wearing like a sports crop top and shorts, even in springtime or autumn or even in winter, it's because if I overheat, I get very sweaty and I get claustrophobic, and I can even black out and faint. It's happened to me. So just having fabric on my stomach or on my back, it gives me, it makes me feel like I just need to rip it off because I get so hot and I can feel my head getting dizzy. Basically, Guido walks around in his underwear, but it's fine for a man to do it. But if a female walks around even with a tank top, people say, oh, what are you, why are you so scantily clad? I'm scantily clad because I'm about to black out. So yes, there's your answer. Chronic rhinitis. I spoke a little bit about this, so I won't bore you too much with it, but I really suffered. I would say it's almost been the hardest part of this entire pregnancy, was the fact that they say if you have allergies, that they are just tripled in intensity during pregnancy. People think they understand hay fever. They say, oh yeah, I get that too every the time when the seasons change and they have to take antihistamine. I've been tested with a dermatologist and I'm just off the charts allergic to everything: grass, animals, air, everything. It's linked to depression, people saying they just wanted to you just want to die. You want to not be in your body anymore because it's so intense. I was sneezing so much that my stomach was sore, and then I was reading that you can even be sneezing so much that you start losing amniotic fluid. It was intense. I got a rash all on the sides of my hips. My head was just exploding, and then I was coughing so much as well. It was really crazy. I think it was due to the pollen, like triggered by the pollen, but then the pregnancy exacerbated things. There is these antihistamines that you can take, apparently, that are safe during pregnancy, but I have, and this is part of the reason I don't drink or take drugs, is because I just know myself, and I'm very sensitive to substances, I suppose. That's why coffee, it affects me so much, and wine affects me so much. If I drank wine, I know because I've had like a sip before, and my grandmother was like this too. And also antihistamines affect me a lot. I mean, one time I just took a brand of antihistamine that I hadn't tried before, and I blacked out 3 times in a row. I mean, blacked out, like my head almost hit the concrete floor, and this guy just caught me as I fell. So yeah, I just was very worried about taking an antihistamine. My doctor said, no, it's fine. This particular antihistamine is for pregnant women, or it's fine for pregnant women, and it doesn't induce drowsiness. And yet, when I got really desperate one day, and Guido's like, please, just take it. And I took it, and I felt like I was on drugs. I felt like I had been hit by a bus or a jet plane or something. I was so scared, because I thought, gosh, what if this is what it's doing to me? Imagine what it's doing to the baby. And I was so mad at myself, because I thought I knew that I shouldn't take this, but the doctor was telling me to. Everything online was saying it's safe to. I think sometimes you need to take in all the advice from professionals and you do your research as well and online, but then you also need to just consider your body, and you say, I know my body. I can feel like you can feel when the fatigue is going to be too much, or you can feel when eating that thing is going to make you throw up. And I just knew that taking this antihistamine was, even though it said it's non-drowsy, I just knew my body is not like most bodies, and it's going to have this dramatic response. Fatigue is another thing I definitely struggled with. I am someone who I am an insomniac. I struggle to fall asleep at night, and then I always just, Guido loves naps during the day, and I always sometimes just lie beside him, and I'm like, I'll be answering emails or something, just lying beside him, trying to rest my body, but I'll be looking at him being like, how can you sleep during the day? But I must say, particularly in the first trimester, I was able to, for the first time in my life, have a nap during the day, which was crazy. Morning sickness, or should we say all day, 100 days, 100 consecutive days of sickness. I think it was 100 days of sickness that I had, the morning sickness, and it did start fairly early. I think the first symptom I had was very sore breasts. I mean, that was the first sign that before anything else started, that was the first thing I had, just very, very, very sensitive. And then came the morning sickness, and the nausea was really, really hard, because even if you're not throwing up, you just you can't do anything, because you think to yourself, okay, I'm not throwing up, so I could be working. I was like, I could be filming, I could be editing, but no, you can't, because it's so debilitating that you almost just have to be there in the pain, just saying, okay, just get through this. And in those times, I tried a lot of the things, you know. I mean, one of the things they, you know, say, like, I mean, when I had to put something in my stomach as soon as I wake up, which I wasn't used to. I would go exercise first, and I never like exercising with anything in my stomach. It just demotivates me and I feel sick. But I had to, because I couldn't go for my morning run or walk without having something in my stomach, because I would just feel absolutely like seasick, car sick, that type of, if you've ever had anything like that, that's sort of what it feels like. And so I would have to keep something just beside my bed, because even literally lifting my head up, the nausea would begin. And so I would just keep something beside my bed just to put in my mouth while my head was on the pillow, and then gradually ease myself up, and then hope that was enough. And oftentimes I had to eat when I really wasn't hungry and I didn't feel like it, and I just forced myself, because it just said, no, Kylie, you have to have something in your stomach. You know, it really did. It did help. It didn't completely take it away, but it helped immensely. The other thing that I forced myself to do, which I never felt like doing, was going out for a walk. And it's so counterintuitive, because your intuition tells you that, no, I just need to be kneeling beside that toilet and just waiting and holding your hair back and just waiting until you can burp or something, you know, until it passes. But it doesn't. That didn't help me. I knew that getting outside, getting fresh air, moving, just not anything crazy, just walking, and then just put one foot in front of the other and just get that fresh air, because it's obviously, I'm lucky living in the countryside, because it's super fresh air, but it was just not something that I wanted to do. I really had to force myself. And Guido and I drink a lot of fresh ginger tea. I always chop ginger up, fresh ginger, and boil it in water, and then we just have that, we strain it and then have that as tea. And so I was always starting my day with that, with fresh ginger tea. And I obviously ginger helps. I didn't like to suck any of those lollies and things that they prescribe, because well, first of all, yeah, it's never really worked for me with I get real motion sickness. I get very, very car sick, and it's never really worked for me. And the bands, they never really worked for me either. And then also I cut out sugar, so I didn't really want anything that was super sweet. Let's go on to what I cut out. So when I first told friends here initially that I was pregnant, this friend said, oh, let me lend you this book here, which is Gentle Birth Method by Dr. Gowri Motha and Karen Swan McLeod. And Dr. Gowri Motha is this very interesting woman. I should say, the friend who gifted me or lent me this book, she has had 3 children, and she has also had home births, and she gave birth in like the middle of nowhere. The doula or the midwife didn't even arrive on time. She just did it all herself, and she is very, she was very calm, and she was one of the one of the only people really who said to me, the birth is such an exciting thing and you don't need to fear it. And she said, you should read this book because this doctor, this Indian doctor, talks all about how we have this concept of fear, and it just does women a disservice because their whole body tenses up. They have more tearing, there's more anxiety, there's just more hyperventilation. It's not to say that labor and everything, the whole experience of birth isn't painful, but I suppose this friend and this doctor and author said that she has just witnessed so many women suffer unnecessarily. She said it could have been something really beautiful, or it could have been something where they had pain, but not as much pain as they went through if they hadn't been told by everyone around them that this is torture and you will be in for the worst experience of your life. So I tend to like this line of thinking. I'm not saying, obviously I've never given birth, so please don't misunderstand me and think I'm saying that childbirth is a walk in the park or that it won't be painful. I mean, this Dr. Gauri Motha says it is, but she worked in India for many, many years, and then she moved to London, and I think she's worked in London for over 20 years. This woman has seen thousands and thousands of births, so I think she definitely knows what she's talking about, even if I don't. and I read this book with great fascination, because she was seeing that they were being told, I mean, not so much anymore, but being told to eat for two, and this is just not right. And that's also something my Italian doctor has said as well, is you shouldn't be eating for two, and it gets these women into this terrible state where they're getting gestational diabetes, and then that's really problematic for the child, and the babies are so big, they're growing so unnecessarily big, and then there's more, it's more stress on the mother carrying them but also delivering them, and then the baby when it's born as well, because I sort of said to the doctor, well, what does it matter if the baby grows so bigger, slightly bigger? And she said, well, you're really setting up your baby for life. You're setting up your baby's metabolism and how it is going to relate to food, and whether it's going to have a higher chance of obesity or just problems with food, or diabetes. And I thought to myself, gosh, this is what a gift to give your child. If so many of us have problems with food, I mean, even if it's not a medical condition, but it's, even just emotional eating. I mean, I think most of us emotionally eat some of the time. And so I thought, gosh, if I could give this child, all I have to do is do 9 months of being really disciplined, and I can't think of a more important time for me to be very, very, very conscious with my exercise and my diet, which I am already, but this is so much more, because gosh, if I can give my child a head start, in terms of health, then yes, I'm in. So this doctor includes a lot of case studies, and one of the things that she was finding a lot of the time is that gluten was really causing a lot of problems. And for one thing, I mean, my sister, who's a nutritionist and naturopath, and not just someone who did a course, I mean, she actually went to university and has a degree in health science, and then she worked in a clinic dealing with a lot of people with chronic issues that just wouldn't go away no matter what drugs they took. And so I really trust my sister's opinion, or advice rather. And my sister's always said that, like, gluten, it just, well, she can probably explain it better, but in layman's terms, it's sort of stops a lot of nutrients from being absorbed, and also obviously gluten is linked to inflammation, and so it's just it's always good to give your body a bit of a break from gluten. It's not, obviously I love baking, so I love bread, I love everything that gluten is about, pasta, so I love all these things, but I just thought, well, if it can help. And also gluten can make us very tired as well, and this pregnancy I've just been all about trying to maximize my energy, because already I'm disadvantaged by the general fatigue that comes with pregnancy. However, I thought if I can cut out coffee and cut out gluten, then that will give me just more energy, because gluten always makes you sleepy and puts you in that food coma. And then this doctor, the author of this book, she has said that gluten is, she believes, is responsible for creating problems with the cervix. She said, I ask all my mothers to cut out wheat, refined carbohydrates, puddings, chocolate, bread, biscuits, and so on, and in the last month, gluten. I'll just read you a passage. So she says, when I was working as an obstetrician in an NHS hospital, the same thing happened every night when I was on call. I would be woken from my sleep to attend a mother with complications. The midwives would tell me, this lady has been in labor for 24 hours. She's now been pushing for 2 hours and the baby is stuck. I would do a vaginal examination and find that the tissues were congested and swollen around the baby's head. The baby's head was squashed and molding, and all around it was water retention, creating an obstruction. It was ghastly, and the only option was to apply forceps and drag the babies out. I think I was quite a skilled operator and tried to be as gentle as I could, but this situation necessitates an episiotomy, and I despaired of having to carry out this procedure on women night after night. So it's like to cut them open wider so that they can get the baby out. I came to the conclusion that the underlying problem for a lot of these women was the mechanical fit. If you had a smaller baby and a fit mother with an uncongested pelvis, it would be easier for the baby to pass through the birth passages. Everyone thought I was crazy at the time. This is in the medical community, and I was met with a lot of hostility. There was a huge fear that babies would be born small. However, such skepticism proved unfounded. Over the years, my mothers have delivered babies of very healthy weights. My emphasis was and is simply on having babies in keeping with the mother's frame. And today, eating for two mindset is becoming redundant, as people are much more aware that a pregnant woman only needs an extra 200 calories per day. That's only an extra bowl of cereal per day. Wheat, for example, is known to create water retention. I reasoned that wheat could be the culprit, congesting the vaginal tissues and restricting the cervix from opening and widening. Sugar is problematic too. Sugar is metabolized via the Krebs cycle, the name given to the biochemical process that releases energy from the molecules of sugar. The body finds it hard to neutralize the free radicals, and they attack connective tissue like muscles, tendons, and ligaments. When you're pregnant, you need your pelvic ligaments to be extremely supple and flexible, so avoiding sugar and sugary foods can prevent toxins being deposited in your uterus, cervix, and pelvic structures. This doctor also says, she advises you so that you don't go into feeling like you're deprived. She says to give yourself a treat every 2 weeks or so. Like I just had my friends from Australia and I made them a cake which was gluten-free but did have sugar in it. But now that I'm getting closer to the birth, I think I will be a little bit more disciplined. I can still have fruit, but even my sister often says there are certain fruits, there are good sugars in fruits, and then there are fruits that if you have a lot of them, it's just too much sugar, like watermelon, which is delicious in summer. But my sister, for example, says kiwi fruit is a really good sugar to have. I mean, it gives you that lovely hit, but it doesn't send your system going out of control. I cut out also honey or agave or anything like that. Really trying to get my body out of the habit of my taste buds out of the habit, basically, of expecting that sweetness to come. So after having something salty, if you have a sweet tooth like me, you just want to have dessert. Or if in the afternoon, if you're tired, you're craving sugar because you want energy. essentially. And so even though I could find a substitute, I really tried to train myself to just get out of needing anything sweet, even if it was a good, just natural sugar. Some yogurt with nuts and a bit of cinnamon, because that's not going to spike my sugar levels, but it is going to give me the feeling like I'm having something that cleanses the palate after saltiness. And cinnamon is also a really good option because it's got no sweetness, but it gives you that sensation that you're eating something that is like a dessert, no? Another thing that I cut out, I suppose, is trying to really wash all of our fruit and vegetables with disinfectant that's for washing food. In Italy it's called amochina, and we did that because so much of our produce has bits of soil on it because we get it from our vegetable garden or the fruit trees. Agisto on the property here has cats, so the cats obviously with their feces and things can create problems with toxoplasmosis, which I haven't had, so I've got to be careful not to get it. And so yeah, it was so laborious because you have to wash everything with a disinfectant, and then you have to clean off so that it doesn't smell like that disinfectant. So you have to sort of wash. If you do get a head of lettuce, you have to rinse it about 3 times.
That's all we have time for in this video. Feel free to leave me any questions you'd like answered on this subject, and here is a preview of topics that I'll be sharing in part 2.
Maternity clothes, exercise, birth plan. So I have this thing called placenta previa, which is a low-lying placenta. She said, I'm a professor at the university which is attached to the hospital. She said, would you mind if you sign these consent forms so we can study your baby, because it's so healthy and it's the growth and everything, the whatever the size is perfect. It's like Christmas Day is coming. You're about to get the most magnificent gift anyone has ever given you. It's like the gift of life, like a child, and it's your responsibility to nurture it and give it love and give it shelter. And what could be more exciting than that?
Thank you for watching. Alla prossima.